want to talk today a little bit about incentives. Over a decade ago, when I was at HubSpot and was one of the inbound marketing consultants, we had this metric that we used to measure customer success called CHI, Customer Happiness Index. This looked at a whole bunch of different usage and elements of the product and tried to sum it up into one number on a scale of 0 to 100. And as a consultant, you had 8 calls over 3 months to kind of get customers onboarded and up to speed and hand them off. And part of that goal, our incentive was to get 80% of those customers above 80 chi. And as you understood the algorithm and how you go about making those customers over 80 chi, I was one of the first consultants to figure out how to do that and get 100% of my customers over 80% chi on a weekly, monthly basis. And through that, I got promoted to be manager of the consulting team. At which point, I taught all of my consultants how to game the system. I taught them how to optimize what they were doing to maximize the chi and pass customers on at this hitting 80% plus as they were incentivized to do. What we ended up learning later, though, is the highest correlation to your customer not churning and staying on board long term and being happy was just basically usage. But at the time, we didn't know that. We were still figuring a lot of that stuff out. Why I tell that story is because I think it shows a powerful thing called incentive. And Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's famous right-hand man who recently passed away, had a famous quote that goes like this: "Show me the incentive and I will show you the outcome." What's important to take away from this quote and this story are a couple of things. Behavior is 100% driven by the incentive. I was incentivized to get customers over this, so I figured out ways to do that. People are self-interested to maximize their personal gain. I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to get fired. I wanted to win some of the prizes and bonuses and other things that were going on for people that hit this. So I did whatever I needed to figure out how to make that happen. But the downside of this is unintended consequences happen. It becomes obvious that people will take shortcuts that can cause problems. They will find loopholes as they are focused on the short-term gain at the expense of the long-term goal. You told them to do this, they did it. You told me to do this, I figured out how to game the system, ultimately win and succeed by what I was measured on. And I think what this really points out is the importance of designing effective incentives. When you think about designing incentives, you need to think through all the chaotic ways that people will try to take advantage of them. Think about the ethical considerations. Let's use cars for an example. You want to sell more cars? Great. The outcome is we're going to have more greenhouse emission. Well, let's build more electric cars. Well, the outcome of that, we're going to need to mine more rare earth metals. Both of them create new problems as you're going towards these specific things. It's quite often that as we look to help one thing, we're indirectly hurting something else. Properly aligned incentives can significantly boost motivation and performance, as you saw in my example. Something really important to do as you're thinking about aligning incentives is explain the why to the people that you're handing these incentives to. Align your incentives with your customers' positive outcomes. If your employees are aligned in the way that benefit your customers, then everybody can win. It's very important to put real thought and planning into coming up with incentives because there can absolutely be unintended consequences. For me, once I learned this very basic concept, it's one of those things that I just can't forget now. And how many times have any of you said, "Yep, I could have told you that would have happened"? Show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. It's that simple. And now you have a framework to think about and work on as you see these scenarios in your real world. Do you have any stories about incentives that led to crazy unintended consequences that you've run into? Share them. I'd love to hear them. And on that, have a good day.